Many people who play Dark are going to experience this game as creepy, dark, and even scary, as you play as a little boy who seems to be stuck in a perpetual state of having a lucid dream, a dream that he just cannot escape. Yeah, as I look at it, I interpret it much different than some nightmarish hellscape, and more of a really incredibly sad story. I'm Nima, and we're going to talk about Darq, the Ultimate Edition. Now, I'm going to be upfront and clear and say I didn't actually review this game. In fact, our friend Trick is the one who reviewed it for me. I just didn't really have time. I'm going to put his words into this video, and then I'm also going to have my own theory, as I ended up doing some research and watching some gameplay. Okay, I watched the entire gameplay, and I'm going to give you my theory on what this game is about, but don't be worried because this is just a theory. It's a game theory. Oh, sorry, no MatPat. But needless to say, this is just my theory and is in no way a spoiler for the game because the game doesn't actually tell you what it's about. There's symbolism hidden in it, but I think that might be the fun thing about checking it out and having the conversations of how each one of us interpret it. Darq is an adventure puzzle game where it's incredibly unique because you can actually manipulate your environment to work for you, meaning like you can climb up walls, you can walk on the ceiling, and there's even maze-like puzzles where you reconfigure different rooms, all in an attempt to get further in the game. Now, the one thing about the puzzles that is kind of odd is it seems that you kind of need to collect the exact same things over and over, namely severed limbs, arms and legs, and gears and cogs. Aside from these reoccurring items that you need, another interesting thing about the game is there is no text, there is no voice, there's only music, which, by the way, is incredibly delightful. It really just sends the ambience of this somber, creepy, interesting world. And the graphics also help with that, as they really rely on shadows and contouring in this black and white sort of stylized, creepy world. So there really is no concrete story that there is to go off of. The only thing that you do know is you're a little boy named Lloyd, and it seems like every night you fall asleep and you have a lucid dream where you're stuck in this environment trying to escape, and the only way that you can do this is by solving puzzles. The puzzles, as I said before, is ones where you need to collect gears or limbs to advance further. A cycle that repeats itself as it's telling you a story through the environment, with an occasional enemy coming by every now and then. It doesn't really go heavy on combat at all, but there is a bit of stealth to it, and for the most part, you're really just trying to get from point A to point B. If you do want to find out more about the actual story though, there are little artifacts that you can find that will kind of flesh out the story. Most are rather vague, but they do kind of help you set a form of the narrative that the game is trying to tell. Now, the game itself is rather short. Trick said that it took him about 4 hours, but when you look online, the runtime says at about an hour. Him and I both agree that this is probably because that's how quickly you could complete the game once you know all the puzzles and you know how to get through there the quickest that you can. And that was confirmed by other sources as well, so the runtime on the game will probably run you about 2 to 4 hours. And as Kurt diligently played this game, he said that his favorite part of the game was actually just the unique puzzle-solving methods in which the game uses, like being able to climb on ceilings, for instance, but also just how amazing the music is. The composer did a phenomenal job writing, because when you think about it, the game is sort of void without voice or text or any other life. So the music being able to satiate that sort of environment for you speaks volumes for just how good it really is. Now, there was one particular part though that Trick wanted me to mention, is that there is a maze that literally you can just basically complete it by luck. So you tried almost 20 times before he finally got through it, and that it is just dumb luck. Now, again, I don't think that this is insurmountable or impossible, like you'll get it at some point, but you just have to keep trying and trying. But ultimately, he gave this game a 4 out of 5, and said he really enjoyed the game. Now, I myself wanted to familiarize with the game, so I watched an extended gameplay. Somebody who not really sped run it, but they did beat it in about an hour and 10 minutes, and you can tell that they knew the answers to the puzzles. But as I was watching the game, I kind of formulated my own hypothesis on what actually happened, what this story is trying to tell you. And my theory is that this is a story about a little boy who is trying to extend time. You see, the thing that we mentioned before about gears, well, gears can mean many things, but you have to constantly look for gears, it seems like. It's just a a reoccurring puzzle item. Now, a lot of people can think about gears in different forms, but when I think about it, I think of a clock, a watch. They have many running intricate gears. And a reoccurring theme in this game is to advance, you must get these gears turning again. Almost like you need to extend time, you need more of it. And if it wasn't just the gears aspect, the other thing that you notice a lot in the game is clocks. There are a ton of clocks in this game, and there's even a point where you use a watch as a bridge. It is sort of a makeshift bridge that you use to traverse different gaps in the floor. And as I saw, many people really did praise the ability to climb up walls and walk on ceilings and that whole unique ability in this puzzle solver. To me, it actually felt like you were more trapped. Like no matter how much you walked, you were still looking at the same four walls. Now, to me, that seems to think that you're stuck in your mind. You're stuck in your brain. And in fact, in chapter 6, we actually go into a hospital that I think really matches where Lloyd is and what he's stuck in. He's stuck in his own mind because Lloyd is unconscious. Most likely, Lloyd probably had a brain tumor or has a brain tumor, as the most common form of cancer amongst children is brain tumors. Now, I think that this is also in line with the time and also the enemies themselves. As you look at the enemies, they too are damaged or ill and in fact stuck in this hospital as well. And I think we can interpret it as him being afraid of being in the hospital and he wants out of the hospital. And it is quite common for children to be scared of sick people, of people who are hooked up to machines or have to have masks on, maybe people who are in a wheelchair. These are all things that kind of give a bit of fear to children just because they don't understand it. But for Lloyd, it's different because this is ultimately where he knows he's going to spend the rest of his life. I think there's also some literal interpretations as well, meaning like when he's in his apartment, you can literally turn it upside down. His entire world can go upside down. His home that he lived in is dilapidated and falling apart. No one's there anymore. His family's left because he's been in a coma. Or he's experiencing the last few moments of life through this chaotic, lucid dream. Now, the other thing that I have to make note of and why I feel like it is brain cancer is because of the way that he looks. He's bald, he's thin, he looks very frail. Somebody who has unfortunately had to be on chemo. Somebody who does have a form of an illness that will probably be their end. We can't say for sure because I don't know. And again, this is just my theory of the game. And honestly, I feel like that's a much worse thing than if it was just about lucid dreams and nightmares and monsters. Because ultimately, that's one of the saddest things you can think about. And honestly, that hit really hard. Especially because all the pieces seemed to line up. And that seemed to be the story that the game was telling. Again, I don't know for sure. I'm just guessing. But I appreciate each and every one of you guys for checking this out. Sorry I had to be so somber at the end and sad, but that's, again, this is my thoughts. If you played it, if you have your own thoughts on it, let me know. I would love to discuss whatever theories we all have about this game. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you. You are amazing. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.